We hope you enjoy listening to this podcast of St. Louis on the Air, brought to you by University College at Washington University, with undergraduate and graduate programs part-time, evening, and online. University College at Washington University, offering world-class education within reach.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Don Marsh. The Repertory Theatre of St. Louis, also known as the Rep, is currently presenting one of its most ambitious efforts ever. The musical Evita is playing to rave reviews. It's Andrew Lloyd Webber's tribute to Eva Perón, the former First Lady of Argentina, a highly controversial woman. I sat down recently with Steve Woolf, the outgoing and longtime artistic director at the Rep, and Pepe Nufrio, who plays Che, the story's narrator. Needless to say, Nufrio and Woolf are delighted with the early response to Evita.
It's a thrilling production, I have to say, and listening and watching to the audience react to it is remarkable. I've never quite seen anything like it on our stage. And the explosion of the first big dance of Buenos Aires just explodes off the stage in dance and in costumes and color and exuberance. I think people are just knocked out. And then the story of Evita is just simply a remarkable story of this woman who took over the country. She was a media star. She was a superstar. And we've got video, we've got film of her at certain points, and you look at the crowd's reaction to her. There wasn't anybody like it. And this is Andrew Lloyd Webber's best score, I'm sure of it. The company is brilliant on every level. It's just exciting moment to moment. It's thrilling work.
Pepe, as a performance, you must be delighted with the reaction, the early reaction to the show.
Oh, absolutely. We've had standing ovations every single night. And people are super responsive here in St. Louis. Everyone is eager to understand every single word. And my part is the part of Che. He is the narrator of the story. So I don't have any interaction with any other actor, except in a couple of scenes in which I interact really briefly with Evita. But the rest of my interactions are with the audience. And I'm constantly breaking the fourth wall, talking to them and explaining them my perspective of the story of Evita. And it is fascinating because I get to look at them and you can see the interest in their eyes.
You were saying before we went on the air that one of the things that has struck you about all of this was the way the cast has gelled. It doesn't always work that way, particularly when you're on the move and working with different people
Correct.
in different places.
Yeah, well, people are different. Especially you get to see people's true colors when you're working with them and when you're living with them. I mean, we spend with each other every single day, every single hour. And this cast especially has connected with each other in such an intimate way. Everybody really, really likes each other, and it just works. And that brings to the stage that connection. I've done several musicals in which there was no connection in the cast within each other, and it just doesn't work because it's not a communion, you know? So for Evita, the fact that everybody gets along so well and everybody wants to be part of this as a community, I think it raises the stakes of the musical and makes the whole experience marvelous.
Stephen, how is it that the Evita has held up so well for so many years?
Well, I think because the music's really good, and the story of this media superstar before there was social media is still fascinating. You know, she discovered she was never a great actress. She wanted to be an actress. And in her early work, she did film, did stage, didn't work. She discovered the microphone, just like us today. And she used the microphone to her advantage. And she caught, people picked up on what she was saying, both sort of dramatically and politically. But she had a hold, we those people that connect electronically, that take a population and move it. And I think that story still is fascinating and very modern and very current, actually, about the power she had over people and how the Argentinians connected to her, and eventually the world. They sent her on a worldwide tour, and she had crowds everywhere. And I think people just find this story, because it's true, just sort of an amazing story in a very short life. She died at 33, so she was only on the stage, in the world not very long, but she had enormous impact and still does. Shea says at the end of the play, when she died, her body went away for 17 years and no one could find it. And finally, it was Perón's third wife that set up something to recognize her there in Buenos Aires. So it's just the story, and it's fast. It's shows under 2 hours. We are blasting out from beginning to end, and so there's a momentum to the whole story that I think powers in this production, which looks beautiful. The set's amazing. Our costume shop did an amazing job on making the costumes, and we make them. We don't go buy them. We make them in our shops. And Alejo Valetti, who designed the costumes, is from Argentina, as our choreographer, Gustavo, also from Argentina. So the dance work is also very specific and tied to that culture. The tango work is amazing, but it's the momentum of the story of this woman, and what Pepe plays is this odd commenter on the story. It's a remarkable piece of writing that was done in the late 70s, and I don't think Lloyd Webber's ever been better.
Mm-hmm. Pepe, did you know the story of Eva Perón before you took this role?
I did not, no. Yeah. I remember it very well. My dad, he came to visit me in New York City. That's where I live. And I just had the appointment to come in for Steve and our director, Rob Ruggiero, to audition for Evita. And I remember going to my dad and saying, "Hey, Dad, do you know anything about this woman or Perón?" Because I had no idea. And it is interesting because I went right to Google, as a millennial that I am, typed in Evita, and it was fascinating to see the different perspectives of what people would say about her. Some pages on Google said that she was fabulous and a savior, and some others said the complete opposite. So it was very interesting to learn about her, and it was even more interesting to build my own ideas about her.
How did the actress playing Evita in this show help you develop your own ideas about her?
Her name is Michelle. She's fabulous, Michelle Aravena. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's incredible. And to see her acting, I think when Patti LuPone played her on Broadway, it was the reviews were saying that she was very, very serious, and you couldn't feel sympathy towards her. And with Michelle, she brings a lot of notes, a lot of different emotions. So it is hard because by the end, Che, even though throughout the whole story, he is telling you she is not good, she did this, that. By the end, I end up feeling things for Evita, especially just because of Michelle's acting.
Right. Stephen, you mentioned a moment ago that there was a current context for all of this. What do you mean by that?
Oh, now, Don, we're on public radio. I can't go into that. But what you have is an entertainer came from outside the political realm and took a country by storm. And we'll just leave it there. I think people can make their own conclusions.
And learned how to connect with the common man.
And learn how to connect.
The whole secret.
I mean, and she was badly treated. Her family was badly treated when she was growing up in rural Argentina. And so she felt this connection to connect to the people. And then in Rainbow High, you see her the famous lyrics about Lauren Bacall and she's putting on fabulous clothes because she also believed that the people needed to see her look fabulous to follow her. And she's wearing great clothes. But Christian Dior, Lauren Bacall, I remember, there were comments in the original about how weird those lyrics were. But she's doing it to connect. And she learned how to be a star.
It didn't help that she was attractive, or didn't hurt that she was attractive.
I mean, you come into the theater and there's a huge portrait of her on the back wall, which is a graffiti portrait. I mean, some people saying, "Oh, this is a huge, beautiful portrait," but if you look closely, the paint's peeling a little. It's sort of discolored. Though we lighted it at the beginning, and it's a bump that she's radiating light. And her, according to our Argentinian people in the show, her image is all over Buenos Aires still, hidden sometimes. The story, she was polarizing, she and Juan Perón.
How difficult was it for you to stage? I mean, it's a big cast, maybe your largest. I've read that it's up there certainly with them. So how difficult was it to put it on?
Oh, difficult. This wasn't just snapping it up. You had to arrange a lot of people, a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, and to use our big thrust stage. We're a 280-degree thrust theater, and to make sure people could see and that you could tell the story of her in both the song and dance. And so Rob Ruggiero, our director, and Gustavo, our choreographer, worked really hard to make the story clear. But it was a lot of detail work that we did in the rehearsal hall. So when we hit the stage and got into this, because we rehearsed, 4 weeks in the rehearsal hall on tape, and we have a multi-level set with a balcony and a bridge and lots of step units, and then we had to adapt it. And so everybody was very specific about it. It took a lot of prep time, just a lot of homework to make it work. And between the John Lasseter's lighting and Alejo's costumes, it all comes together. But it took a lot. We started casting the end of April. It took us all summer to pull the cast together and then go into rehearsal. And every day, we were split in singing rehearsals and dancing rehearsals and making the show happen. It just took a lot of effort, which paid off.
Pepe, would you suggest that people, before they go to see the show, do what you did, Google Evita and find out who she was? And do you need to do that to really understand the show?
I don't think you do. I highly recommend it. I think go into the theater with just a bit of background gives you that extra information just to understand the piece a little better. So I recommend everyone to do that with any show. Yeah. But something that Steve was talking about in the rehearsal room, we work so specific in telling the story. This musical has a lot of work and a lot of words, and it covers a lot of story in 2 hours. So it is our job, the actors, to be as clear as possible and try to communicate as possible, as good as possible. So I do recommend people to research a little bit, but it should be very self-explanatory.
I'm going to talk to Steve for a couple of minutes here because we want to also talk about his final months here. He's greatly responsible for what goes on at that venue and the success that it's had. But Steve, you are kind of winding down. You've got still some time to go. What are your thoughts about ending all of this after all these years?
After 30 plus years, I don't quite get that existential about it yet. It was time. Yeah, it was just simply we had reached a point in my own personal trajectory that I always sort of targeted when it would be time to retire. The idea of saying the word retire is anathema to me. And so we're putting on our season. I end June 1. And the new person, Hannah Sharif, who's going to be magnificent, as the new artistic director, will have her own ideas and her own sense of programming. But it's bittersweet every moment. We just started rehearsals for our second show, Doll's House 2, and so the season progresses. I've got 2 shows to direct yet in the season: Admissions in the Studio Theater and Oslo on the main stage.
You're not going to be able to walk away from it entirely. You're going to have an emeritus.
I'm going to have an emeritus, yeah. So,
Yeah.
no, I can't walk away from it. Yeah. It's too much of me in there. But, like any cultural institution, if you don't get some new ideas and it's not changing the vision. We are who we are, and this theater is who it is, what it is. But it's good to get new ideas and get fresh ideas because art's ever changing. Otherwise, we'll become moribund, and we can't do that. And I think we have a particular leadership position in the community and nationally, and so we want to keep that, keep us alive, and not just sitting there. I think that's the easiest way to put it.
I think at the time of your actual retirement, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again about such things. But while I have you here, what kind of flashes through your mind and you look back over those 30-plus years, is there must be some highlights that just don't go away.
Yeah, I've got a list because I keep being asked that question, and it's fine. And they're all my children, and so I mean, I've produced 300 some shows in this period of time. It's a lot. But I wrote something recently that what's my favorite moment? It's when the house lights go down and the stage lights come up. I'm living my dream. This is what I wanted to do since I was in high school, and the thought that you get to live your dream doesn't happen to everybody, and so that's pretty wonderful. I mean, there's specific shows I've fallen in love with, but the overall gestalt is being able to produce this work and engage an audience and have discussion as we do every night with 700 or 800 people in the room.
How have audiences changed over those 3+ decades?
I think they're more game. I think for I won't say the non-traditional work, but listening to the literature in new ways and being able to deal with new plays and world premieres and welcoming them to the community and to the theater. And I think. Many years ago, audiences weren't that interested in it. They wanted the staples, the old classics, and so on. And we've moved on in a way that we can contextualize when we're doing new work. And there's a lot of information also on our website about Evita, but other shows we are doing as they come up, like Doll's House 2, which will be the next show. And if you look at our website, there's detailed information. So we want to communicate that and keep the work in context.
Sounds terrific. Pepe, what's next for you?
Next for me is going back to New York City and going back to the audition grid and keep looking for it. I was talking to a company member of our cast about a director once described the acting world for the actor as surfing. You go into the sea, you get on your board, and you try to ride that wave. And you keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually you get on the wave, and you do Evita, and you go all the way to the beach, and then you get off, and then back to the ocean to try to get another wave.
Well, we'll have you back when you've done 300 shows, like Steve has. That's a lifetime of work.
It's fascinating.
We wish you the very best, Steve. You too. We'll see you again, I'm sure, before you finally hang it all up. But continue to have a great season. It's off to a wonderful start.
Well,
with
thank
Evita.
you so much.
Thank you, Don.
Pepe, great to see you.
Absolutely.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.